Finding clients without needing a portfolio. So I'm Lee Blue, the founder of DoubleStack, and let's talk today about how to find clients even if you don't have a portfolio of work to show to kind of prove that you know how to build websites. So this is an important topic for a couple reasons. The biggest reason is I talk to a lot of people who feel like they need to build a portfolio in order to land clients, and therefore they take on a lot of cheap projects or friends and family discount projects. And then what ends up happening is, well, a lot of things end up happening, but the big thing that ends up happening is you end up burning out before you ever get real regular paying clients. So we're going to go through like the normal story that people tend to go through and why they feel like they need the portfolio. And then I want to debunk the myths that are in the mix of that story. And then we'll look at, why targeting is more important than a portfolio, how to charge full price even for your first client, and how to build your business without chasing leads all the time. And those three pieces of information will put you on the right track to building your own six-figure web design business that you can run out of your house and kind of have as something that you build up and kind of live your life on with a great salary and everything. So jumping into it, the story normally goes like this. The first thing that somebody says is they think, I need to have a portfolio because I want to start this web design business. And if I don't have a portfolio, then how do I show people what I can do? And then step two is, okay, well, in order to get the portfolio going, then what I'm going to do is take on inexpensive projects, build a website for my friends or a family member or something like that at a really low rate, maybe even free. And then step three is, after I kind of go through that, then I'm going to rely really heavily on word of mouth referrals. We probably don't have much of a marketing plan in place, probably not getting a whole lot of clients in any other way other than word of mouth referrals. So we rely really heavily on that. And then step four is, okay, that means you're getting pretty sporadic leads coming in for probably pretty inexpensive work. And then you end up burning out before you ever really even get off the ground. So why do people do it that way? So if that's the pattern, why would anybody go about doing it that way? And the reason is that's what used to work, right? That's how you used to build a web design business. You would get a portfolio, show people what you can do. People would start liking it, and then they would start hiring you for all those things. But today, that doesn't really work anymore for a couple of reasons. Like the three big reasons that ends up being a problem today. The first one is the portfolio itself is just too expensive to build. Like why build a portfolio? Well, the cost is going to be really high. And what I mean by the cost being too high is you're probably building lots and lots of sites for way under market value, like way under what you need to be charging in order to make this happen. And to have a business that sustains you, and that's a very high cost to pay. The second reason is it develops the wrong audience, meaning that the types of clients that you're building websites for as you build out your initial portfolio are not the same kind of clients that you really want to be working with after you have the portfolio. But as you develop that portfolio, you begin to you're kind of branding yourself as someone who builds inexpensive, affordable, good websites. And then you end up finding that you get a bunch of low budget leads. So that's a problem for that because you're kind of branding yourself in the wrong way. And then the last thing that's a problem with building the portfolio is you're not actually trying to sell yourself as someone who builds better websites. Like the whole point of being in this group, the whole point of high ticket, web design and consulting is not to build better websites. The idea behind this whole thing is to create better outcomes, not to build better websites. So simply by having a portfolio with websites in it doesn't reflect whether or not you're able to create the outcomes for the people that you want to be working with in the future. And in fact, it probably means you're not creating the outcomes that people are looking for because you're racing through to try to get as many sites done as you can, and you're trying to, build this portfolio. And the focus is on the websites, not on the results. And by shifting your focus to the websites rather than the results, you just lump yourself in with everybody else that knows how to build websites. So that's a big problem. The second problem is, why avoid the friend and family discount? Well, the first reason to avoid the whole friends and family discount is because you don't need the portfolio. Like the whole reason people do the friends and family discount in the first place is so they can get some sites under their belt. So they can say, hey, look what I can do. Look, I've got some clients. And then the underlying assumption is because you have a few sites that you've already built, that means you'll get more later. And what I'm telling you is you don't have to have any sites. Your first client can be worth $40,000. Like I was working with Jim. Jim's first client, he didn't even have his website up yet. Not much less a portfolio. It was $40,000. And so, in fact, we're going to have Jim on the podcast probably pretty soon. He and I were just chatting about that. So we'll meet him again. I mean, he's already been on a couple times, or at least once. We did an interview with him. You can find it on the website. But the whole point is you don't have to have the portfolio in order to win the clients. So that's why it's reason number one to avoid the friends and family discount. Number two, it builds the wrong brand like we just talked about. Number three, you get all these low budget referrals. And then the concept of avoiding the heavy reliance on word of mouth referrals is also a problem too in this 5-step sequence towards traditional failure. And the main one is it's fine to get referrals. There's nothing wrong with a word of mouth referral, right? I'm not trying to say shun people that want to give you referrals. But what I am saying is if that's what you're relying on, if that's the only way that you get clients, it's very sporadic and unreliable and unsustainable. And so that ends up creating a situation where you can't really succeed. And then you're playing defense all the time rather than being on offense. Like if you show up with a blind referral, so to speak, you oftentimes don't really know what they want. They might not really even know what your expertise is. And so you end up in this situation where they might be asking you to do stuff that you don't know how to do, or you're not comfortable yet doing, or you got to learn and kind of figure it out after they ask you. And maybe you could even refer them to someone who could do it better than you, but you don't want to because it's your lead and you want the income from it and everything. And so you get in these awkward situations because of the random nature of word of mouth referrals and putting you on defense all the time. Like, they're saying, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. And you're trying to catch all the balls at the same time. Can I catch them all at the same time? That kind of a thing. And then you're also seen as an implementer rather than a leader, right? So like when you get a referral from this traditional structure, most of the time, the client knows what they want to ask you to do. And they're saying, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. Will you do it? And then you then say, yeah, I'll do it. And then here's what the price is. And then they kind of shop it around with other people that can implement the same thing, maybe for a lower price. So then you have the issue of, well, can I get the same thing for less from somewhere else? Which means if you charge a lot more, like if you charge the rates that you need to get your income up into the six figures, you're probably going to be charging like $5,000 to $10,000, as opposed to people that are charging like $500 to $1,000. You might charge like 10 times more than everybody else. And so that ends up being a problem if you're seen as an implementer where the product that people are buying is the website. You don't want that. What you want is you want people to be thinking that what they're really getting is access to you, and that you have the skills that they need to drive the results that they're looking for. And you are the thing that's valuable. And then the reason you're valuable is because you're combining your goals, your objectives, your ability to set things straight with your ability to actually implement the stepping stones to get to the goals. So, right, so you've got your consulting leadership hat on, but you also have your tech stack, your technical / marketing hat on, doing both things at the same time. And that's why you're valuable, because now you're seen as a consultant, not an implementer. See, like once your clients start seeing that they're getting results in their business and the results are coming because of you and the things that you're doing and suggesting and the leadership that you're providing, you don't get replaced, right? Like they stay with you. That's of course the whole idea. So then the question becomes, okay, well, if I don't have a portfolio, how do I get the clients? Like what do you do to find clients without a portfolio? And the big point there is that targeting is much more important than a portfolio. Because most of the time, even if you have a portfolio, it's probably not helping you that much to win clients. Because what's happening is your clients are going to be looking at your portfolio, or your prospective client, your leads are going to be looking at your portfolio and trying to figure out, is there anything in this portfolio that makes me have confidence that you are able to do what I want, or that you're able to get the results that I need. So if I happen to be a wedding photographer and I look in your portfolio and you've got a site for a real estate agent and a site for a plumber and a site for RV campsite or something like that or whatever, but I'm not seeing anything for photography, how do I know if you can help me get the clients that I need, right? Do you see what I mean? It's like the portfolio is like, I call it a popcorn portfolio. It's like, boop, 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 boop. It's like all these just random things all over the place. And there's the work that you're doing is not underscoring your authority in any particular area. All it's saying is, I know how to build websites. And what that means is your clients are going to be looking at you as a seller of websites or a way to access a website. And then they're going to compare your portfolio with other options, right? So like think about, even if you did a lot of work and tried to build an awesome portfolio, how does your portfolio compare to all the templates that you might be able to get on Wix or Squarespace? Like, can somebody go into your portfolio and say, yes, these example sites in your portfolio look just as good, if not better, than the ones in Squarespace and Wix? And what about all the different genres of sites? Like, there's no way. It's like, you can't win that battle. You can't go head to head with Wix and Squarespace if you're fighting portfolio to portfolio. You can't win that battle. They've got way more, and they look better, and they're in all different categories, and they're 1/10 of what you want to charge. I don't know if you know this, but if you go on to, I think the last time I looked, if you went into Wix, you can get their deluxe jam package, like the whole thing, the big package at Wix for, I think it was $324 for the year. And that also includes $300 of ad credits on Google, a free domain name for a year, and a free logo, which they said was like a $50 value. So it's like, how great can the logo be? But if you don't have a logo at all, that's pretty good. So now you're getting a logo, a domain name, a website, and $300 of ad credits for $324. So like the gifts, like the domain name, the logo, and the ad credits are more valuable than the website itself. It's like, so it's free basically, right? So like, and they've got templates out the wazoo. So how do you compare with that, right? So like, how are you supposed to compete with that? You can't compete with that. So what's the solution? So why would anyone ever hire you for 10 times more, or maybe 20 times more what they could get on Wix? And if you feel like the answer is, well, my portfolio is better, or more custom, or looks cooler, or something like that, you're not going to get the clients. You can't go head to head on portfolios. So the solution is you have to be able to create better outcomes than they would get on Wix. And the outcomes are very broad, like it could be on any number of things, but ultimately what you want to say is, by hiring me, I can show you how to get the results you want. I can get more calls on your calendar. I can get more people through the door. I can sell more products. I can build your audience large. Like, I have the ability to create the results that you need that you wouldn't otherwise be able to get if you were just rolling your own solution on Wix, or if you just hired somebody to build you a $500 site off of Facebook or something like that. That's the difference. So you've got to be able to focus on results and outcomes much more heavily than focusing on like trying to go head to head on portfolios, because you can't win the portfolio battle. And you wouldn't even want to if you could, because what you really want, like when I talk to people, nobody ever says to me, I sure wish I could crank out a bunch of $324 sites over and over all day long. Instead, what people say is, I want to help clients succeed. I want to use my skills and all the knowledge that I have in this digital marketing world to be able to get better results for my clients. So they're actually growing and scaling and benefiting because of my leadership and my help and my contribution. That's what people want. And that's what you should be marketing. You should be saying getting better results is the reason you hire me instead of these cheap alternatives. So how do you know that? Like, how do you have the confidence to be able to say I can get you better results? And targeting is the answer. Targeting is the answer. So you don't want to get into a situation where you're trying to get results for everyone in the whole wide world, because nobody can do that. Nobody can be an expert in getting clients for everyone in the whole wide world. You have to target. You have to be like, who do I feel comfortable with? Who do I feel like I can really get results for? What do I know about? What industries do I feel good about? What areas do my skills line up with that are consistent with the types of clients that I want to be working with? So like combining your past experience, your consulting knowledge, your skill set, your interest, your passions, the stuff that you like, with the types of clients you want to be serving. Put those two things together, and now you can be the target and say, well, now I've got a package of all my best stuff, which is the stuff I'm the most confident in, which is what I can charge the most for, which is what separates me from everybody else, which also is what gets my clients better results by hiring me than anyone else. That's where you want to be, and targeting is really the number one answer for that. So targeting. Then once you do start targeting, all of those things that I just listed start applying. You basically, all that stuff is differentiation stuff, but you also have leadership, right? You can say, I know how to get clients for photography, or I know how to get clients, I know how to get real estate leads for people, or I know how to get, an auto dealership really rolling, or, once you target like that, then you get into this leadership situation, which is the big difference between like selling prepaid hours or being like a part-time employee for a bunch of other, maybe a handful of companies or something like that. You're not trying to do that, because the difference between getting a handful of prepaid hour retainer kind of things, or just, you tell me what you want to do, or even worse is repeat business as opposed to a retainer. Repeat business just means The next time somebody has a need, they call you up and they liked what you did the first time, so they work with you a second time, but it's unpredictable and inconsistent. So that's the worst. Better than nothing, but still the worst. But the concept of, I'm going to give you this discounted rate where you can access me at this lower price, but you tell me what to do. That's you just being an employee for somebody at a cheaper rate or something. And then you're very easily replaceable. You can't charge what you want. But when you go into this direction with the targeting and positioning yourself as a consultant, now what you're doing is you're creating a leadership position for yourself. And I have a little acronym that I use with the 4 benefits of positioning yourself as a leader, and it spells out the word rich. not that the whole goal is to get rich, but the point is, if you want to be able to value price and get the income goals you want, these 4 things are what you really need to be focusing on. And when you position yourself as a leadership in a leadership position, the RICH, the RICH acronym, the first thing is it reduces scope creep. So R for reducing scope creep, meaning that you don't have to worry about projects getting bigger and bigger and bigger and then like undercutting your estimates and things like that, because the scope of the project is in your control. You're the one saying these are the things we need to do to get results. And that's why you're in control of the scope, because you control the scope, as opposed to having somebody say, okay, here's what I want you to do. And then you do that stuff and like, oh, now that I see it, here's what I really want you to do. And then you got to go unwind and then scope, everything gets all crazy. So, reducing scope creep and just having control over the project is the first thing you get out of leadership. The second thing is it instills confidence by reducing risk, right? So instilling confidence, that's the I part of this whole RICH acronym. And what I mean by that is when you bring leadership, you're like, yeah, I've seen this before. I've thought this through already. I do this all the time. I'm specializing in this, as opposed to let's figure this out for the first time on a strategy session, brainstorm kind of a thing. You're like, yeah, I see this all. This is a no-brainer for me. I know exactly how to do this. And so that instills confidence by reducing risk. The third is you can charge a lot more because you're value pricing. So the C is charge a lot more because you're value pricing, meaning that I know how to get you these results. These results will probably stack up to $100,000 of revenue for you or more, right? It's not hard to make $100,000 for somebody. For example, what if you worked with a wedding photographer and you could book 1 or 2 weddings a month? 1 or 2 clients a month for like $5,000 a pop, or a CPA. What if you get a couple of small business clients for a CPA and you just do 1 or 2 per month, something like that? I mean, that's all it takes to get into the 6 figures of results. And then why don't you charge 15 or 20 grand for that, right? That's a great return on investment. But nobody's going to spend 15 or 20 grand on a website. No one would do that anymore. It's not 1999 anymore or whatever. It's like nobody spends that. But they would spend that for the results. And so by putting yourself in this leadership position, we say, yeah, I know exactly how to do all of these things. This is the direction to go. Follow me as we go towards getting the results that you want, hitting the goals, the outcomes, the objectives, whatever word you want to use. That's the idea behind value pricing your work. So you can charge a lot more because you're value pricing your work. And then the final one, and the biggest one, is the H, which is you're the hero. H is for hero, meaning that the reason they hire you is not because they're trying to buy a better website. The reason they hire you is because you create outcomes. You're a creator of outcomes that might include building a better website as a stepping stone to get to the outcome. But the reason that you're valuable is they're hiring a hero. They're not buying a website. That's a really, really strong differentiating factor between just kind of doing what you're told as an implementer and being a consultant and a leader and really helping people get outcomes. So that's it. So that's the RICH kind of acronym for why you want to focus on this leadership concept. And then how do you charge full price, even if it's your first client? Well, that's the next step. So, okay, we've targeted people where we know how to get results for them. The second step is, rather than trying to get someone to hire you based on your portfolio of websites or some kind of individual service or skill, what you want to do is you want people to hire you because of this hero concept that we were just talking about, where you have the insight, where you know what they're struggling with, you know how to fix it, you see it all the time, you've pre-thought out a solution for this particular type of a client, and that's what they're hiring you for. So another way to think it through is you're developing a results-oriented solution that defines an objective. Okay, so that's a lot of fancy words or whatever, but it's a results-oriented solution, meaning that the end solution is, ooh, look, my website looks fancier now. The end solution is, look, I'm getting calls now, or more traffic, or I've built this platform, I got this podcast with 1,000 people in it, whatever it might be. You've got a results-oriented solution that defines an objective, a goal. Like, what is it that they want? And a lot of people are scared to set goals, right? Maybe you're scared to set goals. Are you scared to set goals because you feel like maybe you won't hit them? And that maybe you're dishonest by saying, here's a goal, but maybe you don't hit it? Well, if that's you, you probably have a couple of misconceptions. First of all, goals aren't guarantees, right? The whole point of a goal is not to guarantee an outcome. The point of a goal is to say, where am I going? What's the direction here? What are we doing? What's the objective? And if you don't set the goal, then you have no idea what you do. You're just randomly doing random stuff, right? So like, if the goal is, let's just build a website and hope for the best, that's the goal, then that's a really big problem, because how do you know if you're successful at this? How do you know what the outcome's going to be? How can you even price your work if you don't even know what the value even is, if you don't even know what you're shooting for? So that's a big deal. So what you want to do is you want to have a results-oriented solution. So you're focusing on the results that defines some kind of an objective, like some kind of a goal. And if you don't hit the goal on your first try, then you look at what you've done and figure out, well, why didn't I hit the goal? And then you actually can put some logical steps in place to make it all come to life, right? It's okay not to hit the goal. It's also okay to surpass the goal, right? The goal is acting like a compass so that you know where you're going and not just randomly walking around and running in the dark. So that's the first step to how do you land your client, your first client as a full price client, is you define a results-oriented solution with an objective. The second thing is you then articulate the strategy for achieving that objective, and that's going to combine marketing, it's going to combine your business knowledge, and some kind of probably some kind of design work too, right? Like you're building the website and doing the design, and so you put the strategy in place. So what's the difference between an objective or a goal and a strategy? Well, the objective is like the main thing that you want, right? And the strategy is, how am I going to make that happen? We were just talking about this with the Star Wars thing. So like, I'm kind of a Star Wars nut. So if you look at Star Wars, then you would say, okay, well, the objective is take down the Death Star. That's the big thing that we want to do. And then you say, okay, that sounds good. Well, how are we going to do it? What's the strategy? Well, the strategy is we're going to send in the X-Wings, like a really small force of X-Wings. They're going to fly under the radar, not get noticed, and hit the heart of the Death Star and take the whole thing down. That's the strategy, right? So it's just really succinct. It's a very small, kind of compact mission statement that says how you're going to achieve the objective. And so that's what you do. So you do that too in the sense of your client. So like if your client wants to have a $10,000 a month coaching program, that's the goal. Well, what are the strategies you can use to obtain that? Do you have to build an online community first with a certain number of people that you can, kind of build your authority through that? Or are you going to do a Facebook ad campaign? Are you going to do like some kind of a webinar-based funnel? Like what are you going to do? Just put a strategy in place to make that goal come to life. And then the last thing that you end up doing is you tie the price of your work to the value of achieving that objective, which is how you get full price clients, even if it's your first one. So you go through those 3 steps, and the next thing you know, you're charging full price right from the get-go. And that's where you want to be. So that enables you not to burn out, because now you're getting these great clients and everything, even though it's your first client, and you don't even have to have a portfolio to get there, because none of the things that I just listed have anything to do with the portfolio. Right? It has to do with the objective and the strategies to get there and making sure you've got the skills to pull all that together. That's what's important. And then what happens is you land the clients, and now you're creating case studies and the case studies sort of build themselves. So in my mind, there's a difference between a portfolio and a case study. A portfolio is kind of the traditional random, I build all these websites, don't you think they look cool? A case study is, look at the results I was able to get for this client. And then you have a lot of clients in the same situation that you're able to get great results for. And now you're underscoring your authority in that space. That's really different from look at my popcorn portfolio kind of a concept. So that's how you get clients, even if it's your first full paying clients, even if it's your first one. And then the last thing that you've done is with this new approach is you've built a business without having to chase leads all the time, right? So you put your results-oriented offer in front of the people who need it. Right, so you think that's the targeting stuff that we were just talking about. And then, well, how do I actually get the clients for that? Might be a question that comes to mind. Well, reach out to people that you know that are in that space. Like if you think of a solution to get a bunch of real estate leads coming in and you know a handful of realtors or real estate agents, mention it to your friends. That's a really easy, quick first step. Like think it through, like how can I get more clients for John, the real estate guy, right? Something like that. Or if you know a guy that does handyman work or whatever, like think through all the different types of things that you would need to do to get clients for that person, put a package together and boom, there you go. And that right off the bat, there you go. You got a couple of leads. Because keep in mind, you're charging like $15,000, $20,000 for this stuff, and you don't need that many leads, right? So it's a mindset shift. Like you like normally people think, man, I got to get 15, 20 leads a month just to be able to get enough websites coming in to stay afloat. And I'm talking about, well, what if you had like 6 or 7 leads a year? Like if you could land like 6 or 7 clients a year, you could probably be in the 6 figures if each client's paying you 20 grand, right? So that's a different way of thinking about things. It really frees you up not to have to just chase leads all the time. And then once you get the clients, you can keep them, which we'll talk about in a second. But the first way to do it is you put your offer, like what you can do to help, in front of the people that need that kind of help. And then think, okay, well, what happens if I run out of friends or I run out of my warm network? Well, then the next step is build a bigger network. And how do you do that? You can just I call it becoming like locally famous is the word that I use. So you don't have to be like super duper famous, like, some kind of celebrity or whatever, but put yourself in a situation where you kind of become famous in the space where you work. Meaning that if you want to work for real estate agents, go give a talk at a meetup group for real estate agents and say, hey, let me show you how to do digital marketing for real estate. And then just tell people some examples of things that they can do and even ways that you can help. And then you already have authority. You've been invited to talk. You're kind of an expert on digital marketing with real estate. And how many people are in the group? Maybe 20 people in the group. You don't think you get 1 or 2 leads out of that? And again, you only need like 5 or 6 for the whole year to get to six figures. So that's it. So the whole locally famous thing is a great idea. And then a third approach, like after you kind of run through that, if you really want to scale it out, you can set up funnels and run paid traffic to it. But you now have an offer that you're running paid traffic to, which means you're not competing against the marketing budgets of everybody else in the whole wide world who can sell websites, the marketing budgets of Wix and Squarespace. I mean, Wix was running, or was it? I think it was Squarespace ran like a Super Bowl ad last year. I didn't see one this year, but it's like they've got huge marketing budgets and really, really inexpensive pricing for websites. So get away from competing against that and run funnels and ads that target this unique approach that you've got going on, so that you're not competing with all that crazy stuff where you can't compete, you can't win against that. So that's it. So that's the 3-step approach. You kind of reach out to people that you know that you could help, which you can do for free. You can become locally famous, which is another thing you can do for free. And then if you want to spend money on it, you can run paid traffic. And then you can get clients at full price, even if it's your first one. And then the final crowning jewel of the whole thing is once you land the client, keep the client, right? So like make sure that you have a business structure in place where you're not just spinning out websites hand over fist. What you're doing is you're creating a platform for people that includes the marketing tools that they need. And then you use the tools with them, right? It's like the whole point of hiring you is and then we use the tools together part. So that's the business structure you want. So you don't have to chase leads all the time. So now what you've done is you've maximized your earning potential by having the majority of your time billable time, right? Because you keep the clients, they're on a retainer that you're in control of, and you don't have to spend half your time finding leads or whatever. You can spend almost no time finding leads. That ends up being the solution. So that new approach that we just went through saves the day. Like you don't have to go through I got to build a website, do the friends and family discount, find some cheap clients. You don't have to do all of that. You just right from the get-go, you can land, $10, $15, $20, $40,000 clients. So that's the pattern. So if you want to have a 6-figure web design business, you don't want to focus on the web design. Do the web design. You got to be good. You got to be able to build good-looking stuff. But the focus is on the results, right? So position yourself as a consultant that drives outcomes, and the tools that you use are all the skills that you've got. But don't position yourself as a producer of websites or a vendor of technical services, right? So you don't want to have a website that just lists all these crazy services, like Facebook ads, SEO, hosting, maintenance, plugin updates, web design. You don't want to list all that stuff, because if you do, then you'll get into a situation where you're competing against the whole wide world. Everybody's listing that stuff, even Wix and Squarespace and everybody doing it all for free or whatever. So pull away from that, kind of go through this approach that we just talked about. Where targeting is a big key. You're charging full price even for your first client, and you've got that business structure in place where as you onboard new clients, you're actually building a business, not just cranking out random work. So that's the pattern, and that's really what DoubleStack is founded on. It's like, how do you get into that position? How do we pull you out of just the web design world and kind of put you into the world of high ticket consulting? And I'll come along and coach you through the whole thing. So DoubleStack is kind of an elite sort of a thing in that I do all the coaching personally. So like, you work specifically with me, I don't hand you off to other people. And for that reason, I can only work with about 15 to 20 people at a time usually. And so that means I can't help everybody all at once. But if you're serious about all of this, then we can talk about it. And so you can head over to doublestack.net/call, and we can set up a one-on-one call to make sure that this is going to be a good fit for you and that you kind of like the pattern that we're putting in place. And we can do it specifically in the context of your skills, your interests, your clients. What do you say on your website? How do you find clients in your niche? Those types of things, so that we can put this kind of basically 3-step approach in place where you kind of feel really strong about your ability to drive results. You feel really good about the alignment that you have with what you're saying publicly, with how you really feel inside. Because I haven't talked to, and I've talked to people all day long every day and reviewed people's websites all day long every day. And I haven't come across that's very, very seldom do I come across anybody who says, all I want to do is crank out fast little websites for people. Like, every once in a while, maybe somebody will say that, and it's a pretty short conversation because I say, I can't help you do that. I don't even think you want to do that. I don't even think it's a moral thing. And what I mean by that is, if somebody can get the same outcome for $324 that you want to charge like $2,000 for, how do you feel good about that, right? It's like, now granted, it's most of the time people aren't trying to be immoral or anything like that. I'm not accusing anyone of that. What I'm saying though is, if you really think about the outcome from the client's perspective, they could have spent $324 over here, but instead they're spending $2,000, $3,000 over here, and the end result to them and their business is the same. Now, what ends up happening is people justify by saying, oh, well, I did a custom site, or I've got, faster hosting, or I've got, the site's more SEO friendly or whatever, but we're not really doing SEO work. But if we did, it would be better. Those types of things, we kind of justify the skill set, or I'm available all the time. My customer service is really great, or, there's things out there. But in terms of the outcome that the client is getting, are they getting more calls? Are they getting more traffic? Are they selling more stuff? Are they building their business in a different way because of the site that you gave them for $2,000 compared to the $324 site they could get on Wix? And most of the time, the answer is no. Because if you're only charging $2,000, you can't do this stuff. There's no room, there's no space, there's no time. You can't do it. Like, even if you wanted to, they haven't hired you for it. And so for me, the way to really feel good about your work is to create an environment where everybody wins, where you're getting paid enough to do the work that you want and making a really good income with it. And your clients are getting great results because you've got the time now that it takes to drive the results, even if it's only a couple hours a week, right? Even if it's 2 or 3 hours a week and you charge $1,000 a month, right? So you're basically making about $85 an hour spread across 10 hours a month or something like that. It would be $850, something like that. Like, even if that's it, that's still over $10,000 a year at $850 a month. So, get a situation going like that where you've got a couple of hours every week that you can work on getting leads and getting better results. And now you've got a really strong thing that you feel awesome about, where when someone says, well, what's different between working with you and just getting, this $324 site on Wix? It's like, well, the difference is the results. What, do you want a website or do you want clients? You see what I'm saying? That's the pitch. And so you want to position yourself in a situation where you feel comfortable with that. And DoubleStack is all about getting you there. So I'll show you how to become like a marketing ninja, right? So I'll show you how to do drip campaigns and sales funnels and lead magnets and better converting email headlines and landing pages and all that kind of stuff. And then we align the way that you talk about what you deliver to your clients in that outcome-oriented way. And then I'll show you how to onboard high-ticket clients, because that's a whole nother art. And that's a whole other skill set to build, because you can't just go into a normal web design meeting and do that questionnaire intake form, kind of how many pages do you want? What are your goals? What are you looking for? You can't do that and also charge 10 times more than everybody else, because really there's two problems. There's the risk problem. Like, oh my, if they're just figuring it out for the first time, I don't know if it's going to work. It's too risky if it's 15 grand, but I can swallow it if it's only $500 because if it's all gone, it's like I'm only out $500, but 15,000, that's too much. So you have the risk problem, but you also have the value problem. Even if they like what you say and are cool with the pattern or the vision that you put out, it's like, well, what can I just get this whole thing for cheaper somewhere else? And then you lose the client from that perspective. So we got to figure out those three things. You got to make sure you feel really good about results. You got to align the way that you talk about yourself with what you really want to do so you attract the right clients. And then you've got to make sure that once you are talking to the clients, you know how to onboard them with authority, with integrity, really genuinely helping people, which is a different situation from just trying to extract what they want you to do as an implementer. So we put those three things together, and then boom, the next thing you know, you're landing high ticket clients, even if it's your first one. And then you've got your own 6-figure business 6 or 7 clients later. And I'm not trying to say it's easy. I'm not trying to say that I just snap my fingers and boom, everybody makes $1 million, but it's not complicated, right? It's a very clear path, but it is hard. It's hard to get your mind thinking about these things. It's hard to shift your thinking away from services into results. It's hard to know what to say on your website. There's a lot of moving pieces in the mix, but conceptually speaking, it's a really straightforward path. So if you want help building all of that out and implementing all of that and kind of getting your business more into this high ticket consulting arena, as opposed to like the low ticket web design implementer arena, then head over to doublestack.net/call and let's talk about how to do this in the context of your business. So anyway, that'll book a 45-minute session for us. It's totally free, no pressure to do it. If you at the end of the call, you're like, hey, I'm just going to run with it on my own. Talk to plenty of people. That's totally fine too. If you want my help kind of bringing everything together, we can do that as well. But either way, head over to doublestack.net/call, book a time to talk, and at least you get a step-by-step plan for exactly what you specifically should be doing to be able to find and attract these high-ticket clients for your business, while doing it in such a way that you're actually building a business, not just doing random, popcorn portfolio work. So awesome, guys. It's great seeing you, and doing a Clubhouse tonight. So if you're on Clubhouse, join us over there. Do it with Heather. She and I she's been gracious enough to invite me into a bunch of rooms that she's been setting up, and we're going to be talking more about this portfolio situation over there. But head on over to Clubhouse. It's going to be 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, and that'll be awesome. But until then, head over to doublestack.net/call, schedule a time for us to talk so you can start winning some high-ticket clients. Awesome, guys. Take care. Have a great day.